like, it's the same person over and
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Well, adjusting.
Yeah.
It's higher up.
You're like me. I usually buy them over here, so I don't have to Making them payments drives me insane.
The meeting will please come to order. We have a posting in accordance with Chapter 5 of the Texas Government Code intended known as the Texas Open Meetings Act. Members of the public who wish to speak should have 5 minutes. Anyone? All right. If not, it is 9:03. We'll go into the public hearing for the plan for the district clerk's archive fund and plan for the county clerk's archive fund.
We have a written plan that we have to do each year to specify what our intentions are to do for the archiving of our records. So we have a plan set together. We collect $10 for each recording on official records, and that's been taking effect for a good while now. It used to be $5, it changed to $10, and therefore it is supposed to expire, and they, House Bill made it change where it's going to stay 10 and not revert back to the $5, so we collect the 10 still. What we are trying to do is put our records and indexes to the internet, 1960 to 69. We have 70 forward to the current on the internet now, so that's our goal, is to get 60 to 69 going.
All right. And I misspoke. Well, no, it is the district clerk's and the county clerk's archive funds.
Yes,
Everyone
everyone should have a copy of my plan, and we plan to start in the 1900s and archive those files first. We've got to get some bids from different vendors to see, what the best way to go is. But everything's pretty well self-explanatory in my plan there.
And these are paid out of special funds, and those are in the budget.
Right,
Funds are in
we
the budget.
collect
for them to
$10.
do that. They just have to present their plans. Does anybody have any question or discussion about it? Anything? If not, it's 9:05, and we will close the public hearing. Item number 2 is the record management and records archive written plans for the county clerk and the district clerk's preservation and restoration records plan for the 2021 period. We have a motion to approve those.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Item number 3 is to approve the minutes of the September 2nd regular meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 2nd meeting.
Second,
All in favor, aye. Any discussion? Motion carried. Item number 4, budget transfers and amendments. You have those in your book. You have one certification, the unclaimed property capital credit funds, $20,732.98.
And it's split between 2 libraries. Second.
including the certification.
Including certification.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item number 5 is to approve and pay the bills. Any discussion on the bills?
I make a motion to pay the bill.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Item number 6 is to approve the payroll.
I make a motion to approve the payroll. Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Number 7 is reports. I have a report. The auditor's monthly report for August. Also have the treasurer's report, which is based on the auditor's report, and this is the one that has to be put on the website. The extension report. This is for the activities for August and then for the plans for September. JP3 report for August. District clerk report for August. A report from senior services. There were 2,501 meals served to Freestone County seniors during the month of August. That was a decrease of 2,222 meals from the month before. With all the COVID and things that are going on, a lot of that has been handed out. People driving through, we just hand it out to them rather than doing common cook meals. But we did have quite a few that still use the service. I have a report from the auditor on the COVID-19 running total for the this is the CARES grant, isn't it?
That's the grant.
And we have spent a grand total of $16,343. We're committed to the washer and dryer that paid for those. That is going to be a part of that. So we still have $491,000 that is available. We have tried to get all of our fire departments covered with things that would qualify under this. And now you've talked to the agency that administers the grant, and there is a way that we can now get some reimbursement for amounts that are spent either the schools or the cities. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you have a process now that you figured out how we can do that, so we'll be reaching out to them and see. Has to be something that is covered within that 75% of, 75% of that has to be medical or health or public safety. And good morning. We're just kind of talking about you indirectly.
Oh, okay.
Talking about the COVID, the CARES grant, and that we'll be reaching out to the cities and to the schools to see if there are expenditures that they've not already, I know the cities got money from the CARES grant.
Yes.
To see if there is anything above that we can get reimbursement for the cities or the schools, or still the fire departments if they come up with something else that would qualify under that. All right, does anybody else have a report?
County clerk's report was set up there, Judge. I said it this morning.
County clerk for August. Simple book, sorry. Okay.
Make a motion to accept the report.
Accept the reports.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Item number 8, burn ban. Sir?
No act.
Do you like it in, guys?
Yes.
No action on the burn ban. Item number 9, any special road use agreements? There are none. We'll go to number 10, bonds and education certificates. I don't have any, if anybody else. None. We'll go to item number 11, financial audit presentation. Mr. Kyle Allen is with us this morning.
Good morning. I'll briefly review some of the financial highlights from this year's audit report. I'll just kind of go through the sheet at the front of the audit report that I passed out.
It's in the binder.
Our opinion states that the financial statements presented in this report present fairly, in all material respects, the financial position and changes of financial position for the year ended September 30th, 2019. The opinion was unmodified, and that is the opinion that you are hoping to receive. Net position is a component of the government-wide statements, which are presented on the full accrual method of accounting. These statements take into consideration items such as capital assets, long-term debt, while the fund financial statements do not. The net position at year end was $11,489,102, which was an increase of $188,350. Cash and investments are approximately $10.9 million of the $18.9 million in assets, and capital assets, net capital assets, which includes accumulated depreciation, are about another $4.8 million. The pension and OPEB liabilities account for about $8.7 million out of the $9.7 million in liabilities for the government-wide financial statements. During the year, there was about $760,000 of capital assets that were added, primarily the courthouse remodel, some machinery and equipment, and bridges made up these additions. Their capital asset disposed of almost $650,000, and these are primarily old assets. We matched up looking at the insurance, we looked at the inventory listing, and we searched some of the titles, and of those we noted that some of those items were not at the county anymore, so these are not necessarily items that were sold. These were items that were old and no longer owned by the county, so we removed those. They were all fully depreciated, so there was no net financial effect in removing those. During the year, the county made capital lease principal payments of $49,000 and added no new debt during the year. The net pension liability increased about $2.4 million, and the total OPEB liability increased about $200,000. The fund financial statements are presented on a modified accrual basis, and this is the method and presentation that the county uses to prepare the budget and plan for its operations. The general fund ended with a fund balance of $8,661,851, which was an increase of $325,497. The general fund revenues were more than budgeted revenues by a little over $100,000, and the actual expenditures were less than the budgeted expenditures by about 1.2 million. The county budgeted to decrease fund balance by about 1 million, but the increase was increased by about $325,000. The revenues were higher primarily due to some insurance proceeds and also interest being more than what was budgeted.
Can I make a comment? I know that sounded a little strange about the underspending on our budget, but the major part of that was the $1 million that was budgeted for the capital murder case, and we didn't spend that money, so it's budgeted for the next year. Just
Right.
a little clarification.
And also the expenses were primarily those contingencies for, the capital murder, as well as a little bit lower salary and related benefits in some areas. So that was another portion of that. The general fund is in good position with its fund balance. A good benchmark is about 25% of 1 year's expenditures, and the county had 85% of the next year's budgeted expenditures at year end in fund balance. The road and bridge funds finished the year with fund balances of about $375,000, $560,000, $335,000, and $522,000 for precincts 1, 2, 3, and 4, respectively. These included increases of $165,000, $83,000, and $200,000 for precincts 2, 3, and 4, and a decrease of about $128,000 for precinct 1. The revenues were higher than budgeted for precincts 2, 3, and 4, primarily due to some reimbursements for road repairs, for the oil and gas and trucks that are kind of tear up the roads. They got some reimbursements for that. The expenses were lower primarily due to not spending the fund balance carryover, and there were some lower road materials expenses than what were budgeted as well. The road and bridge funds also ended with healthy fund balances, and each one of those funds had greater than the 25% of fund balance or next year's expenditures in the fund balance at year end. Did anybody have any questions on the audit?
Glasses for us, so I can't read.
Would you to approve this or accept it?
Accepted.
Make a motion to accept it.
Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Thank you. You have a copy of that, don't you?
We have that, but we didn't have the paper that was in it. That, thank you very much.
One of those, a letter.
Yeah.
We need to talk about that one before you scan it in. All right. Item number 12 is to approve the 2021 retiree medical program renewal. We have discussed previously, I'm glad our auditor is still here because he can give us a little input also on the retiree medical program. We'll first talk about the renewal. You want to say anything about that?
It just went up $10. Right now, we have 11
$10 a
people.
month?
$10 a month per person.
Per person.
We have 11 people on it. I think 2 more is coming on in October. So, but it's $10.
Our policy is that if you have worked for the county for 12 continuous years, then when you retire, you're eligible for this supplement that the county pays. The question is, and we've talked about this before, and I'll get some input from the auditor. The ones that have possibly worked for 12 years and say they left and were gone for 30 years and then they retire, are those people eligible to have to be on this same program, the retiree medical program? Or do you have to have worked 12 continuous years and then retire at that time and then you're eligible? And the issue came up with the auditor. Would you like to discuss that just a little bit? As to how we can keep up with what the liability is, because he has to put that on the statement.
It's just, yeah, it's one of those things, I don't know, what TAC would say as far as who qualifies, when they leave, when they come back.
I think we've clarified that with TAC. We've sent them emails so that we'd have a written response. And they said that we could do it either way.
Okay.
Isn't that correct, Karen? You have those emails. We did that.
Okay. So, but yes, if somebody, say they retire at 60 and they're eligible to retire, they can't draw Medicare until 65, so they sit there and wait for 5 years. The question is, are they going to be able to come back, in 5 years and say, okay, now, I'm able to start getting my supplement? And does the county have record of that? Are you keeping track of these people? How do you know how many people that could be? The other thing is they could leave, they could move away. Maybe it's their responsibility to come back and let you know that they want to start drawing the supplement, because the county doesn't really have any way to know that they have enrolled in Medicare. Because if they're still working here past the age of 65, then I believe they're not allowed to be on Medicare through TAC. TAC makes them be on the county's regular policy. And so the county doesn't really have any way of knowing, well, are they at some other job somewhere else that they're on insurance and they're not going to let them, be on the supplement, that type of situation. So, it's probably still best for the retiree to come back and let you know. But the county does need, I think, needs to keep track of it and maybe clarify the policy that, okay, if you've been here for 12 consecutive years, even if you leave at 60 and come back 5 years later, you're still eligible if that's what the county decides. Now, it could be that you have to maintain continuous coverage and go straight from retiring, enrolling into Medicare type of situation. I mean, that's all up to the county, but I think it should be, kept track of to know who can come back if that's what the county decides. Or once you leave, then that kind of disqualifies you from being able to come back and claim this benefit.
And we have talked about that before. The problem is going back and figuring out how much the liability is. I think we have a plan that we can go forward with keeping up with those figures. But, when we talked about it before, I think the decision, I think you probably were the one that made the motion that even if they left and it was years later, they could come back and
work 12 consecutive years.
After they worked 12 years, yeah. Not have to be an employee of the county when they retire.
It would be up to them to come back and tell us.
Yes, and we have put that on our separation sheet, a little statement that says it's your responsibility to come back to sign up when that time comes. So we have made some additional things to try to keep up with that, but that's beginning now. We don't know what's happened before.
And, and how you want to word it and clarify everything, it's really hard to say, and you probably need to talk with TAC and possibly other legal just to make sure that the legal avenues are correct. But, like I said, somebody could retire at 60 or 55 and they still qualify for TCDRS retirement. And when you say, oh, they retire from the county, well, they're not necessarily retiring because they could be working somewhere else, but when their time comes, they can officially retire from the county through TCDRS's eyes. And so that's another reason, once they've been here 12 years, They may not officially retire and just that's,
At that moment, but they're
Yeah.
eligible for
but they're
retirement
eligible
when
and
they
they
reach that
can,
age.
whenever they want to start. And even if they're eligible right then at 62 or 63, they may wait till they, gain a little bit more on their monthly distributions. So, there's a lot going into it there as well that, making sure the wording is correct as far as do they qualify for TCDRS retirement or, through Freestone County along with the 12 years, and I guess you got 12 years, then theoretically, once your age comes, you'll be able to retire through TCDRS. That's just something else to kind of think of and make sure that the wording is appropriate and then kind of get an idea of how many people and be able to give that to.
And that will be showing up as a liability then on our,
That will be provided to the actuaries. They will go and do their evaluation, which y'all would like to do it every 2 years. And it will be done as of September 30th, 2020 this year, once all that information is given. And so they'll do it as of 2020.
thank you. Y'all have any questions about that? So number 12, the action is to renew our retiree medical program. Knowing that it's about $10 a month increase for each employee or each retiree that is on this plan. We have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
All in favor, aye. Item number 13 is an order setting the annual salary of the official court reporter of the 87th and official court reporter of the 77th. We share with other counties this liability because is it the 87th that has 4? Yes, the 87th judicial district has 4 counties in that, and then the 77th has 2 counties in that. So we share with those counties the pro rata share of the salary. I think you have that in your section under number 13. And for 87th, Freestone County pays $13,306.35. And for the 77th, Freestone County pays $33,936.28. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
Jeannie, is that what we have in the budget, or will we need to make an amendment to it? Y'all can look at that.
Yeah, well, I just want to look, I know we added it in for one of them.
All right. Item number 14 is consider appointing Lauren Ansley as the election judge for voting precinct 12, Liberty, for the 2-year term, September the 1st of 20 to August the 31st of 22.
No, I was just gonna say we found someone to be the judge for the 2-year term for precinct 12 Liberty, Lauren Ainsley, and she's more than happy to do that for us.
We don't still meet at the church then?
Yes.
Oh, good. Good.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Item number 15 is to consider the interlocal agreement for the ENS, that's the Emergency Notification Service. And this is between Hot Cog and Freestone County. Hot Cog pays the fee for this service, and we just have to have an interlocal agreement to use it in proper ways and to protect the equipment.
I'll make a motion on that agreement.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Item number 16 is to consider a replat for the Wilderness Phases 6 lots 153 and 155R. And the final plat, that will be 153R.
Well, I'm assuming, since I haven't, that most of them have all been completed. And I will make that motion that we have a good plat of phase number is, lots 153, 155R, and the final plat into 153R.
All right, and then the motion is to approve that replat.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have that number? All right, motion carried. Item number 17 is the contract between Freestone County and Fairfield Library Association. And then 18, well, we'll do separately. We have an agreement. With each of the libraries, that we will provide the funds that are budgeted, and they will provide the services to our citizens as listed, is the basic premise of it. Do we have a motion for the Freestone County and the Fairfield Library Association?
I'll make that in a motion.
All in favor, aye, motion carries. Item number 18 is Freestone County and the the Teague Public Library.
I'll make this motion. Second.
All in favor, aye. Motion carried. Item number 19 is to discuss animal control. We did have an animal control officer. He no longer will do that, evidently. We'll talk about that. But what the discussion for today is, I've talked to a couple of people in the city, and they are wanting us to consider having a countywide animal control officer. And the cities hopefully will participate in the expense of this officer. And if that is something that the court would consider, then I'd like for us to go forward with talking about that. I haven't talked to all of the cities specifically. I just wanted to know if that was something that the county would consider as a countywide.
So we're talking about a Freestone County Animal Control Officer for city, for municipalities, county, for everything. Is there going to be one like for Teague, Fairfield, or are we talking about Fairfield and the county?
No, we're talking about all the cities.
Everywhere, the whole.
Now, no, they have not all agreed to that yet, but I'm just saying, I want to
Correct.
know if the commissioners would consider that so that we can try to visit with, I've talked to Nate and talked to a city councilman in Teague. And if it's something we would consider, then we could try to get a plan together. If it's not something we would consider, we want just it to be the unincorporated areas, well then we need to know that before we can proceed.
Probably work better if everybody was involved.
I think so too.
Yes.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know Nate and I have visited and he's,
It's we've mentioned it before. It's a huge problem here in the county. The stray dogs are. Now, obviously, with aggressive and vicious dogs, you know, we try to deal with that the best we can. Finding out who the owner is, finding the dog, whatever. But I think our biggest issue is going to come down to how is the county going to handle just stray dogs? That's our biggest issue, because if they're not vicious and they're not dangerous and they're just roaming or they're getting in your trash, what are we going to do about that part?
that'll be another thing we'll have to address.
And I,
policy.
yes, because I think it comes down to an actual county policy of what, you know, because some counties may say you're allowed 3 dogs and that's it. If you got more than 3 dogs, then, you know, you got too many dogs. There's different things you can do. Seriously, there's different things you can.
I'm not sure that I agree with that.
It was just an example, but that's our biggest issue is just the strays.
People drop them off at our house.
Yes.
So you never know how many you're gonna have to get.
Where my 2 came from.
Oh.
But anyway, if y'all are in agreement, we'll begin talking and see if we can get some
I visited with a person from another city council department, same person you did, and they were willing, the city was willing, and I'm sure everybody has the same problem. So hopefully we can come up with a county-wide so that everybody's.
But I do agree, the biggest challenge we have is
Yes.
how we're gonna deal with the animals themselves.
Yeah.
All right, we'll look into that and see if we can bring you back at least some ideas. Now, item number 20, consider purchasing equipment for fire departments. We did have a list that was presented recently from Fairfield. It's my understanding, and I haven't looked into this as much, Karen, you did, but not any of that will be covered under COVID, is that correct?
Correct.
That's correct, all right. Since we are already at this point in the budget, in the calendar year, in the fiscal year, we can't really do anything right now, and, because there's no way we can get this in by the end of the month, so we can be within this budget, and we can't commit to next year's budget since it starts in October. So, we're not gonna address this today, I apologize. You can go ahead and talk about it, talk about the need, but, we'll have to look at that next month to talk about actually do anything, but come up and tell us what you're asking for anyway.
Well, Judge Grant, thank y'all for letting us speak this morning. So basically, what I'm addressing this morning is a need for some gear that we have. We have recently, in the last 12 months, went from 8 active members to 22 now. We're also still trying to expand that and fill our roster, which is, I believe, 26 members would be a full roster. We do have a lot of new members right now that we cannot put in gear because due to us not having it. So just to educate y'all a little bit on our gear goes out of date every 10 years. So even if we purchase 20 sets, it sits on the shelf in the meeting room or wherever, even if it's not put out to somebody, the day that it's sold starts that 10-year date, and after 10 years it is no longer NFPA approved for us to use it. So we had a lot of gear, I guess about 2 years ago, that went out of date. Recently we have purchased other gear. We've had a lot of help from the city that has helped us out with that budget. We've kind of exhausted all of our abilities to purchase gear at this time. And this last year, we actually, on the department money, on the volunteer money, took out a $25,000 loan to purchase gear that was needed for new members. And that gave us, I think, about 12 sets, but we were still needing some other gear. The majority of the gear we're needing is wildland gear, and so basically this gear is designed for us to go out and do car fires, extrications, grass fires, stuff like that. So extrication gear runs about $700 to $800 a set versus a set of bunker gear that runs $2,500 a set. The benefit to us having that is when we go out and do extrication or grass fires, we don't mess up a $2,500 set of gear. If it gets messed up, it's only a $700 or $800 set of gear. It also helps with our members not getting heat exhaustion, things like that. So what we're requesting is this gear. I do have 3 quotes, and I don't know if Chandler has gotten those over to y'all, but if not, I can let y'all take a look at mine.
He got them in.
Okay, so we do have 3 quotes. The quote we would like to go with is from Casco. That is the vendor that we use the most. The brand of gear that we use is Globe, and Casco is their regional guy around here. His name's Billy. He is the guy that helps us out with Globe. That is the only company that we can purchase Globe gear through. The benefit to that is our gear is a different color than some of the other departments in the county. And we want everybody to match, be on the same thing, because when we're on a fire scene, that helps us with accountability and keeping everybody safe. The only other piece of equipment that we are interested in presenting to you guys is our lift, and I believe that has been discussed. That's something that we just kind of got into 3 or 4 months ago, and we saw a really large benefit in that because we have seen a huge rise in lift assist in the city lately, along with the county. And we have several people here that without at least 4 or 5 members, we're not able to do a proper safe lift assist on them.
Now, I believe that you already have the 3 quotes on that.
I just got one. I just had one.
And the reason being, Judge, on the one quote is because for this particular lift, we're not able to find that exact lift from another manufacturer. So that's something that's kind of a limited manufactured item. Most of those items are for nursing homes and stuff, so they have to be plugged into the wall. We're not always lift assisting somebody in the house. You know, sometimes we're out in the yard or whatever. So the one that we have is a battery operated.
Okay, and I believe now, y'all already have that now, isn't it?
We are currently doing a test on it. I think we were able to get it for 60 or 90 days, test it out, see if we liked it, and we were interested in purchasing it. So we do currently have it, but it is just on a test.
And I do think we have the funds for that right now, don't we?
We do.
Since you already have it, are y'all gonna keep that one?
That's the plan. If we can get it paid for, that's a great thing, because the biggest benefit with that is, like I said, you know, with us being volunteers, there's a lot of times we do have a lot of people, but sometimes we don't. You know, sometimes at 12 o'clock at night we have 2 members And for somebody that's excess of 350 pounds, I mean, it's just impossible to do a lift assist by ourselves. And so that lift is gonna help us not only preserving our members' longevity, but also cutting us down on any kind of, injuries that we have that we're gonna have to bring to y'all for workman's comp or anything like that. So we're just trying to keep
Well,
that.
and you said we do have the funds for that.
We do. We just need to get the invoice so we can get it paid this year.
And
If
this-
they
within the
agree
next
that,
Week or so, we've got to have an invoice.
All right, I can get that over to
So
you guys.
is there a motion for us to go ahead and purchase this equipment? I was afraid one day go get it by the end of the year. I didn't know we already had it.
Would what they wear fall under the CARS grant this year?
No.
She said they checked it and it won't fit under it.
well,
I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Your Honor.
No.
We have seen cities purchase alternate sets of bunker gear, because the prevailing thought is, if you're out using a gear and there's a COVID, type situation, that gear is contaminated, you can't use another set of gear. So, be getting alternate, second sets. I mean, I've seen others, cities do that, and they talked with TDM about it.
Karen, and that who you talked with?
yes, ma'am.
And
Of
this
course,
is-
it's probably changed, from what I know about care funding, it's probably changed every day.
Right.
And it depends on who you talk to probably too, so we
Right.
don't know how that is, but
Yeah.
we'll look at it again, certainly that'd be great if it does. But for right now, all we can talk about is, since you have this, and if you're going to keep it, then, do we have a motion? Do we have a motion, didn't we?
Have y'all like that one you got now?
The one that we have now works very well, yes.
Is that the one y'all want?
That's the one we want, because the benefit to the one that we have, this is the only manufacturer we found that has a battery operated one that does not plug into the wall. And that's good for us because it's just more versatile. We can pretty much do a lift assist anywhere.
Okay.
Well, I'm making it a motion that we go ahead and purchase the, lift assist, I think.
And just a few closing statements on the gear itself. We did get the 3 quotes. The quote we want to go with is the cheapest quote. It's roughly $3,000 cheaper than one, and it's about
Now, that's
$1,200
totally,
cheaper.
that's this other list of stuff that we're talking
Yes.
about. So
That-
right now, we're talking about the lift. We have a motion to go ahead and purchase that. We have a second. All in favor, aye? Motion carried. And then we'll be looking into whether the COVID money will cover that or exactly what our situation is, but we can't get it within this year.
I understand.
It's so close to the end of the year,
I
but
understand.
anyway.
You guys have any other questions for me?
There's not any grants we can go out for to cover?
So we apply for grants all the time. That's something that we've really got prominent with this past year. We're always putting in for grants. The only problem with the grant is when you put in for it, you just really don't know how long it's going to take to get awarded. So we are in for many different grants, whether it be for trucks or AEDs or whatever it may be. The problem is I have members right now that I need to put in this safety gear to be able to protect them when we go out on scenes, and we are starting to get enough people, I can't provide them the proper gear. We've had a big push for really recruiting this last year. We've been really successful with that, but we can only recruit as many people as we can put in gear. So I just can't take those guys out on the road and out on fires if I can't protect them. I just can't do that. So,
Thank you.
Thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Get that invoice. Lane,
Yes, ma'am.
get that invoice. All right. Any comments from commissioners, board members?
To drill a water well in the city limits of any city, can you do that?
Nate, I'm glad you're here today. I don't know why you could, but I think you would talk to the city and see if there's any kind of an ordinance. Wouldn't that be correct?
Yeah, I don't think you can. I don't think you can,
You don't?
no. Just because there's one, you'd have to get approval from groundwater conservation district, I think. You would
That's
also,
water district, but
yeah, and since you're already being served by a water company within the city limits, I think that also has something to do with it. I don't know the legal state regulations on that, so.
Um,
You know, I would,
I think
if
you
it was in
ask,
my city,
ask
I
the
would.
Mid-East Texas Water District, they'll know, We have that fellow's number. You can get, Florida.
I'm still on the board, isn't he?
No, John got off.
John did get off, yeah.
John got off. But there's that man in Madison.
Well, I'll tell you.
Clyde Woods.
Clyde is on there now.
Yeah,
We'll ask
he took
Clyde.
John.
Will you ask him, Nate, and then give me a call?
Would.
Perfect, okay, we'll get you an answer.
I'd like to say on behalf of my office, when I reported back to my employees as far as the Commissioners Court granting them an extra day off later on in the year, they're very appreciative, so I want to make sure you guys were aware. We thank you for that.
Well, and just to clarify, it says in our policy that part-time people can only be paid for the time they work. So I apologize to the part-time people. It's not that we didn't appreciate you. That was not the point at all. It's just that it is in our policy that we can't do that on that holiday. All right, anything else from anyone?
On County Road 1101, it's closed between 833 and Freestone County Road 1100 for the construction of a new bridge. And it will be closed for, it's for 60 working days, so which means probably 2, 3, maybe even up to 4 months to redo that, to rebuild a new bridge. And I notified the sheriff's department and everybody.
There's some fancy signs up there, flashing signs, I saw that.
Try to do it right, precinct 4. Thanks.
Yeah.
Can't let me in County Road 111 still closed, but we are working on
No,
three.
babe, I want to take a picture of it.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
Second.